Hey guys, so it is currently Saturday, July 4th, and I have been trying to get started on this manuscript. Well, not started, trying to continue this manuscript that I've been working on, but it has been really challenging because I have felt sick all week. Today is the first day where I finally feel semi-human, and so I'm gonna try and do a writing sprint. So I'm gonna write for about an hour. I'm hoping somebody on YouTube is doing a writing sprint right now, but even if they're not, it's not a big deal because I can just write by myself. And then hopefully get like, I don't know, 500 words done. That might be unrealistic. I was gonna say 1,000, but then I felt like that might be too much. So who knows? I think my main problem with a lot of these is that I've been trying to get a certain number of words done. And I've talked about in the past how like, I don't write in that way. I write more for like an emotional beat. And I'm sorry, my dog's currently barking at some cats that are outside. But I'm thinking if I just write for an hour and just see what happens and do that for a solid week, I can then see what are much more realistic writing goals for myself. So I don't know. I feel like, again, this whole thing has been fits and starts in terms of writing. So I'm hoping maybe I can fix that in some way. Okay, so I officially ended my writing sprint. I got to 1,053 words, which is pretty good for 1 hour. But I think I am gonna go ahead and just write it like a regular novel from this point on, and then go through and decide if I want to make it into a novel in verse. Probably need to read a few more novels in verse before I make that choice. But yeah, I'm kind of liking where this story's going, and I don't have it all figured out. I'm kind of pantsing it right now, which is interesting because I feel like that's kind of how I write poems too. But anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. All right, guys, so I just did a 30-minute session of writing, and I wrote 950 words. So I think this is definitely the method that I need to start doing. I'm gonna take a break from now. Gonna eat some delicious avocado toast that my husband made, fold some clothes, do a little bit more reading, and then do another 30-minute session. Hey guys, so it's a little bit later in the day. I took like a 3-hour break from writing. I think that might have been too much, but I don't know. I'm trying to space out these 30-minute chunks of writing sessions. But I folded some laundry. I ate some more food. I feel worse than I was feeling this morning, which sucks. Like I'm like all the way congested. I think I need to do a neti pot session. But I also started reading this book here, Crossing the Water. It is fascinating. So if you are someone who is interested in reading anything about like Afro-Cuban spiritual practices, this is definitely a book that you should get. What I love about it is that it doesn't just have like, it's not just words, you know, it also includes pictures, because I think that's the thing with a lot of Afro-Cuban religions. A lot of practices are not written down. They're very visual, and it's, I don't know, I feel like it's different than Christianity in that sense because there's a lot of ritual that happens in it, more so than definitely evangelical Christianity, which doesn't have very much ritual at all. So I am finding this to be incredibly fascinating, and I'm hoping to, you know, take what I'm learning from this and apply it to what I'm writing about. Like, I think that's a tough thing when you are writing about characters who have specific practices and beliefs, but you don't necessarily share those practices and beliefs. It's why in my book I'm using a third person narrator, because I don't want to write from the perspective of any one character. But at the same time, I think these types of stories need to be told. So that's just a lot of what I'm thinking about as I go into this next writing session. On that note, here's my daughter. So I think I need to start heading out. Can we just take in a moment to appreciate this entire situation? So I am done recording one video. I am in the middle of recording a second video. And I'm just feeling like super energetic right now. So once I take this mask off and moisturize, I'm gonna try and do another 30-minute sesh. But I feel super productive today. I read a book. I've written close to 3,000 words. I've recorded 2 YouTube videos. Who am I? What am I doing? And I think it's leading me to also consider the fact that I've always been scared of surviving on a gig economy, but I think I could do it. Like, if I could figure out a way to monetize all this content, and if I was at the point where I was writing books that made some money, I could live this life. And it just makes me realize, like, I became a teacher because it was safe, because I wanted to pay off my student loans. And I've done that. And we're so close to paying off my husband's. It'll probably be like by the end of next year. And it's this feeling of like freedom is so close. I can taste it. And to be clear, like we make collectively less than 6 figures. Like, we are not a super financially well-off family, but we definitely live well within our means, and especially now that travel's not an option, we're not really going anywhere. There was a long time in my life where I was almost scared to admit to myself the kind of life I wanted to live. And I thought I had to live a different life. I thought I had to be a teacher and then become a principal and then, you know, work in a school district. And I'm starting to realize, like, that was never my dream. That was the day job. And I let the day job almost take away my dream. And I don't want to ever get in that position again. Not to say that day jobs are bad, but I think for myself, as someone who's always loved writing, who's always had the dream of being a writer, I need to figure out a way where I can, like I tell myself all the time, I need to figure out a way where I can build a life that I don't want to run away from. I need to build a life that I want to live so passionately that I get excited to wake up for, that I am thankful to have. So, man, Whataburger really makes you think. Thank you all for listening to me babble. Morning, guys. So, I ended up not falling asleep last night because my daughter was losing her ever-loving mind. So I was up till like 2 a.m. and I couldn't focus on writing, but I was reading. I started reading The Poet X, which I'm loving so far. I listened to this book on audio last year, but this is the first time I'm reading the physical copy. And then I literally just woke up, which is why I look so wonderful, so beautiful right now. But yeah, it's a great day. I have not gotten this much sleep in a long time. I feel like that episode of Parks and Rec where Leslie Knope, I was about to say Liz Lemon, where Leslie Knope got, 7 hours of sleep and she's just wired. Like, that's kind of how I feel right now. So I have a lot on my to-do list for today, definitely gonna eat some breakfast. Then I'm gonna do a 30-minute writing sesh, gonna read some Poet X, and then go on a walk, and then do another writing sesh. And hopefully I can finish reading this book today. I read 3 books this past weekend, and I haven't done something like that in a while. I think the last time I did it was when I did an 8-hour readathon on my own. So yeah, I think I'm out of any reading slump I had last year, which is really cool. But yeah, all right, I'm gonna finish getting this together. Gonna get some coffee, some breakfast. See you guys later. Me and my baby hairs, they never want to listen. Okay, so I just got done writing for 30 minutes, and I kind of got stuck this time. I think I'm getting in this point in the story where, like, I know some action needs to start happening, but I'm not sure how to make it happen. So I'm kind of just letting the characters guide me on what they want to do next. I have major plot points that I know we need to hit at different parts of the story, but I don't know how I'm getting there, which is fine. That's what this first draft is supposed to be for, right? Is just figure out the story. So that's a really interesting process, because I don't really ever experience that in poetry, nor in a picture book, because picture books tend to be like 4 to 5 pages. So this is definitely a new situation for me. But I did get about 750 words done, which is awesome. So I'm gonna pause it here for now. I'm gonna read a little bit of the Poet X. It also started raining as I was writing, and I think that might be why I was a little bit distracted too. I really love summer storms. I just find them to be so soothing and relaxing. So anyway, hey guys, so it's been a couple hours and I've just been sitting on the couch reading the Poet X. I love this book so much. The first time I read it was audio form, and I highly suggest, if you have never listened to Elizabeth Acevedo's books, do yourself a favor and get the audiobooks. They're super quick. I think the audiobook for this was like 5 or 6 hours just listening to it. Now, reading it to myself, I'm like almost done, and I've only really read it for like an hour and a half. But man, I needed her books when I was a kid. The Poet X, I think, for me in particular, is so moving because I was also a teenager who was so uncomfortable with her body because I was taller than every other girl I knew. I was way curvier than any other girl I knew. I was wearing like adult clothing when I was in high school. I had to shop with my mom. We were basically the same size. And I also had so many doubts about religion and about the way in which my religion was basically taught to me growing up. And to get like a perspective on that in a book about a Latina who has this big body and is judged for it, even though she has no control over the shape that her body's in, to want to date boys, but then to also be scared of the reaction of her mother, to have questions about religion, and rather than be met with answers to these questions or a way to think about these questions that would deepen her faith, to then be met with avoidance and fear tactics. Like, these are all things that I have experienced, and I know if I had this book when I was a kid, I would just be so much more confident as a person now. There's so much truth to this idea of representation, and you know, for a long time I didn't know if I necessarily agreed with it, but reading Elizabeth Acevedo's work has truly made me understand how important representation is, because there's nothing like getting to see yourself in a work of art and to finally have this confirmation that the experiences you've had are valid and you're not alone in that line of thinking. I don't know. I'm just so moved by this, and we're so blessed to live in a time right now where getting to see an author like this thrive is magical. So that's all. I'm gonna edit a video now, and then I'm gonna go into another half-hour writing session, but I definitely plan on finishing this book today. And man, I am just flying through these books. I think I also need to recognize that, like, I have been doom scrolling a lot during this pandemic, and I need to stop doing that. I think my highest weekly average was like 11 hours a day on my phone. That's way too much. A lot of it was also I would just play YouTube videos, but still, I need to dedicate a couple of hours a day to just reading, because I just feel so much happier and fulfilled. And oh, okay, I'm gonna go edit a video now. So morning, guys. So it is currently Tuesday, July 7th, and it is around 7:30 in the morning. This is earlier than I've woken up in a really long time. I'm trying to get my body reacclimated to school hours, and that means I only got 5 hours of sleep. So I feel great. But today I have a lot on my schedule of things to do. So my plan is to try and do a quick 30-minute writing sesh in the morning. I've got to go to school today from 9 to 1:30. So I got to start setting up my classroom. We have no idea what the school year is going to look like. Florida keeps, schools are saying one thing and then the state says another, and then schools have to respond to that. So it's just, there are no easy answers to any of this. I'm going to come home and try and edit the descriptions for Wednesday's video, and maybe even try to record my Reading Rush TBR. I didn't realize the Reading Rush was in July, and I picked a few books. I'm also flying through my current TBR. I think I'll be done with it by next week. And I think based off how these days have been going, I'll try to do 3 30-minute writing sessions on the weekends, and then 2 30-minute writing sessions during the week. One in the morning and then one at night. And I consistently get around minimum 700 words, max over 1,000 during these writing sessions, so I think that's a good rule of thumb for me to have. Also, apparently it's Camp NaNoWriMo. I didn't know that, because I don't really understand what NaNoWriMo is, but that's kind of funny that I'm doing all these goals right around that time. So anyway, all right, y'all, I'm starting to babble because I'm very tired and my brain is still kind of foggy. I'm gonna read, eat some breakfast, do some writing, and then I'm off to school. Say hi, honey.
What's up?
Okay, so I just finished my morning writing session and I got 776 words done. Now I'm running into the issue of how much fantasy do I want to put in this book? It's definitely going to have some fantasy, because it's about magical creatures, but I don't know if I want to make it fantasy with a capital F, if I want to make it more urban fantasy. It's definitely not high fantasy because I don't know how to write high fantasy. So I'm kind of struggling with that right now. I think mainly because there's some points in the plot that don't make sense unless there's more magic included. So I think I might be adding more of that as the story progresses. But I'm hitting a point now where like the rising action is starting to build. I think I did a little bit too much exposition, but I also feel like I am telling myself the story first. Like they say, the first draft is you telling yourself the story, and then the subsequent drafts are you telling other people the story. So I think that's what I'm going through now. I just need to figure out what this story is. And I had one thing in mind going into this. It's now turning into something completely different, which isn't bad. I just need to figure it out. And I think I also need to buy some craft books on writing fiction. So if anybody has any recommendations, I know Lindsay Puckett did a really good video about that. So I'm definitely going to start getting some of those books. But any other specific recommendations, for sure, let me know. All right, I'm going to finish up my breakfast, and then I'm going to head to my school and, move around some furniture because I don't think I can really do much else. Okay, bye. All right, guys, so I am here in my classroom. Here's a quick little tour. There's my TV, my tracking board. I do a little about me board. And then here's all my desks, my other bulletin boards, all my junk. It's crazy. I just found out we're actually not going to be switching classes, which is really nice because that's so hard to do when you teach 150 students. And we're actually going to be in school 5 days a week. Who knows what this is going to look like, but I'm glad I at least have some answers so I can start planning accordingly. And we'll see how today goes. Now I'm just going to start rearranging stuff. We're supposed to keep our desks 6 feet apart. The smallest class I had last year was 18 students, so that's not too bad, but my largest class was 32 kids. So I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be very interesting, but yeah, we'll see. All right, let me get to work. Hey guys, so that was weird. I just spent like 3 hours setting up my class as much as I could. We're supposed to keep desks 6 feet apart. I can only fit 12 desks if I do that because my class is like long and skinny. I'm trying to also set up my teacher area. Normally I have like a kidney table, but we're also like supposed to pull small groups, but we need to socially distance. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. The problem is that there are no easy solutions to any of this. But I am a little bit frustrated because we knew this was going to happen. Like, why put anybody through the rigmarole of trying to figure out ways that we can accommodate everybody when you've made up your mind already and we're just going to do whatever you want us to do? And that is what's so frustrating about being a teacher these days, is like, I have no idea. And we just got a mandate from the state yesterday saying that we had to be at schools 5 days a week with full capacity and no option for online learning. If parents want their students to learn online, then they have to disenroll them from traditional school and enroll them in an online school, which we have that option in Florida. And so I'm not supposed to make copies of anything because we're supposed to have flipped classrooms, which is where all materials are posted online. that makes the assumption that all kids, one, have access to computers at home and are able to do the work independently before they get to school, and two, that they'll actually do the work, which I don't know how many people who make these decisions have met middle schoolers, have met 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds, but homework is not their strong suit. I say all of that just to say I'm frustrated because we're setting things up in this one way, and my biggest fear is that cases are going to spike, kids are going to get really sick, and maybe they don't react to it the same way that an immunocompromised person might react or an elderly person might react. But at the same time, it's really frustrating knowing that we just kind of gave up. We just gave up. And we didn't really even try in the first place. Like, we didn't go through a real lockdown, at least in Jacksonville. I don't know. And at the same time, I recognize I'm going to have a lot of parents and students of parents who work in the healthcare industry or work as essential workers and can't take off time to watch their kids at home. Not all parents can trust their kids to do the right thing at home. I get that. So I feel for those parents too, and they should not be punished, and their kids should not be punished because our school system is so antiquated and designed for a world that doesn't really exist. Like, so anyway, my point in making all of this is if you are a teacher who is also feeling frustrated by this process, I hear you, and all I know is come the first day of school, I'm going to show up to school with my mask, I'm going to put a smile on, I'm going to love my kids, and I'm going to do everything I can to be the best teacher I can in this crazy, crazy situation. But I don't know how many years of this kind of treatment I have left in me. Education was sucking for a long time before this, and that's the thing with crises like this. They highlight what inequalities are already in existence. They don't bring them out. These inequalities have existed long before. And I'm sorry if you hear a lot of noise. It just randomly started raining because Florida. But that's the thing with school systems. They just highlight the inequalities that are already in existence. So, I don't know, y'all. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. And I get the feeling we're going to be a month into school and things are going to have to shut down again. I felt this before we started the new school year, and I'm feeling it now. So, I just wanted to give an update on how I am doing. I took a walk and it was super nice, very relaxing. I was feeling kind of anxious after being in my classroom, and it definitely calmed me down a little bit. I started reading this yesterday. I got about 50 pages in and I wasn't feeling it because basically there's 3 protagonists in the book and each of them has a different chapter, and then they just rotate throughout the entire book. This was a little bit jarring at first because I felt like once I was getting to know a character, all of a sudden it shifted points of view and I was, time jumping and all that kind of stuff. But now that I've gotten used to the rhythm of that, I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. And the stories themselves are really compelling. It's not like challenging me on like an intellectual level, but I think on an emotional level, it's definitely giving me a lot. So I think on a writer level, I'm learning about things that I need to keep in mind as I work on characterizing some of the characters in my book. On a teacher level, I'm just reminded of my students' humanity. And then on a personal level, it's just like a really fascinating story, and I want to make sure that in the future I am reading more about these perspectives, because I will watch movies and I'll listen to podcasts about this kind of stuff, but I need to read more books. And that's really what I'm finding with all of this quarantine time, is like I just need to read more. I went through a really long depressive period and I wasn't reading as much as I should have been, and I want to be reading now. So it's nice when you want to read and you actually are able to read. Like, I don't know, I'm really thankful for this time in my life in a lot of ways. So anyway, I'm gonna keep that same energy when I'm back in my classroom tomorrow, and I gotta organize some chairs, even though I have no idea how many kids I'm actually gonna have in the fall. So mark my words. All right, see you tomorrow. Morning, guys. Do you ever just wake up with an intense amount of anxiety and you know exactly what's causing it and you know you can't do anything about it? That's how I feel today. I'm the kind of teacher who does a lot of collaborative learning strategies. So kids come together to create anchor charts in my room. We do a lot of jigsaws. I use manipulatives. All of the teaching strategies I've learned and like amassed over the years are now impossible. And that's what I kind of liked about distance learning, because it was more adaptable in my mind. And I'm just trying to figure out, how do I teach in person without using manipulatives, without using collaborative learning techniques? How do I teach kids about writing and grammar and vocabulary? So anyway, every time I think about it, I get a huge pain in my chest. I woke up at 7 today, and it's now almost 9 o'clock, and I just haven't gotten out of bed because I'm so stressed. Okay, so I just cried at the ending of this book. It is so good and sad, and definitely gonna give it 5 stars. It went from being a 3-star read to a 5-star read. Yeah. And I really appreciate the level of research that this author did, and this is like what he does, because he does a lot of historical fiction pieces and a lot of war books and things like that. So I in the back of the book, he talks about the kind of research that he did and how he went about it, and that's something that I definitely want to consider, because there are parts of my book that I don't know about and I need to learn. So that is something that I'm going to be working on as I draft it more and more. But yeah, I don't know what it is about this pandemic, man. It's just putting me in my feelings all the time, and I never used to cry at books, and now this is like the 3rd or 4th book this year to make me cry. So Your girl's getting soft, I guess. Okay, so my plan for today, my husband's in a meeting right now. When he's done, I'll probably go for a walk, do 2 drafts. Hopefully I can join a writing stream and commune with people. That'll be nice. All right, signing off now. Well, yes, ma'am. Come on in. All right. Hey, guys. So I just finished a writing session with Oshi Reads, which was awesome. I honestly, today was kind of a bad mental health day, as you could probably tell by the first part of today's vlog. And I just realized, like, I went on a walk, first of all. So walking, exercising, for sure is the best way for me to maintain my mental health. But I went on a walk and I talked to my dad and my stepmom for like 45 minutes, which was really helpful. And I listened to the Commonplace podcast, which is great if you're someone who's into poetry and want to hear interviews of poets. And I just realized, like, it's okay to give yourself space and time for the things you need. But I love writing and I love storytelling, and I can't let the stresses of things that I can't control get in the way of the things that I can control, like my story. So I got 500 words done today, which is so much less than I'd been doing, but I think it was so needed. Like, I just needed time to process a lot of things. And then I figured out some more of a backstory for one of my characters, which is really cool. And now I'm realizing I need to get I think what I'm going to do is get like a special notebook for this book where I can jot down all of these ideas that I'm having and maybe do some kind of like writer bullet journal situation. I don't know if people do this, but I like having physical copies of stuff, and I can't put Post-its anywhere because my 3-year-old will tear them down. So I think I'm going to do this. I might go shopping tomorrow and try and get a journal that I will like, and that I can start recording some of these ideas. And I think it would also be kind of fun to have this, you know, novels are really different from other forms of writing, and like you have to keep track of stuff long term. So I'm gonna think of a way I can do this. And I want to have separate notebooks for each novel that I write. I think that would be really fun to look back on. So we'll see. I got some ideas on structure going now, but definitely hitting this point in the book where I'm like, I don't really know what's going to go on with these characters. They're going to take me somewhere. I know what the climax needs to be. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. And I know how it ends. It's all the stuff in the middle that I'm working out. So anyway, I'm going to shower because I'm a sweaty, swampy mess. And I'm going to get some reading done. I started reading Incendiary, which has been really interesting. Soraya de Cordova is really great at building like a scene and really setting you in a specific time and place. And that's something I'm trying to pay attention to, because I worry I'm not being as like clear and descriptive. Like, I'm picturing this so clearly in my head. I don't know how well that's transferring onto the page, especially because I started it as a novel in verse and now I'm moving more towards a traditional novel format. So writing, man, it's a lot. Okay, so with all that being said, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye. Morning, guys. So I look great. It is currently about 10:45 in the morning. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago. and my sleep schedule is all the way out of whack because I'm really stressed out. I am not fighting it though. I'm just letting it exist as it is. I was gonna start using this week as a way to train my body to get up early for the school year, but you know, as I get older, the more I realize it's important that I rest. That's where I'm at with things. My plan for today is to go to school, finish setting up my classroom in terms of all the posters and tracking stuff that I have to put up. I will also say this is the first time in 10 years now of teaching where I'm getting to stay in the same exact room, and that is so nice because I can actually think through what is going to be the best arrangement. So now I'm just going through and flipping things around in my classroom. I'm also going to stop by the post office to drop off a book that I sold. I feel like this has been happening the past couple days where I feel good at night and then I wake up and I'm just like a ball of stress. And then I just go about my day and things calm down. But I need to figure out a way to start my morning so I'm not so on edge. And I don't really know what to do about that. So anyway, I'm going to start running some errands, take you guys back to my classroom, and hopefully me organizing will help put my mind at ease. Who knows? So, couple hours into it, I think I finally got the space that I want. It just feels so spread out and it's a little bit echoey, which is kind of strange. I know once kids get here, it'll not be so ghost-like, but this is my classroom, and basically as the year progresses, I just cover the walls and stuff that we make and then tear it all down. But yeah. I like my little teacher corner. I think that's a fun space, and I put all of my pre-made anchor charts there because kids don't really use those, and when we're in small group they can look at it, and then once they're at their regular tables they'll have anchor charts that they've made themselves all around the room, and those tend to be the ones that they use more. So trying to get a good mix of stuff. And then here I have my data tracking. We use Marzano's data tracking, and I basically just took a writing rubric. Let me move it so you can see it. Yeah, so I took a writing rubric. These are the strands of the writing rubric, and then these are the points. My theme this year is Be the Light. Be the light, like, you know, be the change you want to see, because I know this year is going to be really stressful. And I have my work wall. It says this work is on fire, and it's just basically anybody who scores 80% or higher on a quiz or a test, I put their work there. And then this is my fire starters of the week, where I list out all the kids who have A's and B's in my class, all the kids who did really great with participation, they're asking a lot of questions, that kind of thing. And then the last one is tenacious, any kid who brings up their grade by 10% or like a full letter grade. If they're in the like above 60%. So yeah, it's I feel better. I feel like I finally got a little bit of a handle on things. So maintenance is supposed to come by later and take out all my extra desks and chairs that I'm not going to use. I don't think I'll need any other furniture, but I can always ask if I do. And I feel like I'm going to end up having to move around desks, like we're going to end up having to add desks to our room, but whatever. At this point, I just want to get this over with, get it started so we can, you know, get the year over with. And I do feel like this might be one of the last years that I'm in like a full classroom like this. I think it's time I do something else. So we'll see. But that's all. I think I'm gonna head out now. I think I'm gonna go home, read, take a walk. I do really love my window. So I'm going to show you guys. I love my view. Not that spider that you can see there, but I love, hopefully this shows up in the video. I love getting to look at this. I worked in a school for 4 years where I did not have a window. The entire building used to be a dog track, so there were no windows because basically all of the classrooms were built where the like stadium seating was. And, like, if you've ever seen an amphitheater, there's just like all this empty space, and they basically built floors and stuff there, which is a cool concept. But when you go 4 years for like 9 months out of the year and you only see maybe like an hour of sunshine at the most, it starts to wear on you for sure. So now I know from now on, I definitely need some kind of window and some kind of view of something nice to keep me sane. All right, let me head back in the car and get my life together. Hey guys, so it's Friday now. It's also like 3:30 in the afternoon. I have not been doing anything with my day today, just editing some videos, and I went thrift store shopping, which was fun. I bought a new lamp because I just broke my lamp today. I like pulled it the wrong way, it fell. It was shittily made, so we just decided to get a cheaper one from the thrift store. Since I'm so clumsy, it probably will continue to happen. But I also wanted to show you some stuff that I bought for the book. So I told you guys yesterday how I was gonna buy also shout out to Kathy Tryhart, I was just watching her video. But I bought a notebook for my story, and it came with a pen. So let's check it out. So this is my notebook. I really love it. It's got these like cute little reflective bits to it. And then the box said it was about 150 pages. I feel like that's all I need, but I'll probably put the title of the book on the inside, and then, you know, just I want to use this as a way to jot down notes of the story, and then that way as I write the story it'll all kind of make sense. And then I also have this cute little pen that came with it. I love rose gold. It's definitely my favorite metal. So yeah, sounds like someone's mowing the lawn outside. So anyway, that's my check-in for today. I didn't do any writing yesterday. I just ended up dicking around on my phone for like 5 hours and was doom scrolling. I'm trying not to do that because I think that's also been adding to my anxiety. It's just like talking to all my teacher friends who are also stressed out about the school year, and then looking on social media, and everybody has got all kinds of opinions about everything, and it just gets to a point where listening to all that stuff doesn't actually help me. It just makes things worse for me. So I'm not trying to stay uninformed, but I do know that if I keep listening to everybody else's opinions and not take some time to work on me, then I lose it. And I don't have the time or the luxury of losing it right now because I need to stay strong. So anyway, that's where I'm at with things. So I just finished doing a writer sprint. That's what I'm dealing with right now. But I just finished doing a writer sprint, which was really fun, with Camille Myrick and a few other people. I'm gonna link that sprint that I did down below because let me move to another room. So I'm finding that I actually really enjoy writer sprints. I think that they are super helpful in terms of, you know, having like a set amount of time and then being in that space with other people, like getting able to talk, to share how much you wrote, that kind of stuff. I think it's actually pretty helpful for me. I can't do it every day, obviously, but I think on the weekends it's definitely something I want to do. And I ended up writing about 1,500 words, which is good. I plan on doing another one later today, and hopefully that'll kind of wrap things up for the week. But I've added at this point, well, I'll do a wrap up at the end of my day. But now my plan is to read some more of Incendiary, read like 2 to 3 hours of Incendiary, and then go on a walk. My sister and I are doing a walking challenge, which is really fun. We're trying to get to 40 miles by the end of the month. And right now she's winning. She's done like 5 miles and I did not start. So I need to get on that. But I also feel like, you know, I'm in a much better headspace than I was earlier this week. So that's exciting. Alright guys, so I just finished my second writing session of the day. This time I followed a previous live stream from Oshi Reads, who is also hosting live streams every Wednesday night, I think around 9 o'clock. So I kind of like doing this anytime that I can't visit a live stream right away. I like being able to go back and just watch whatever was recorded. So that was helpful. Hers is a lot more about the business, like she did not play, so it's very much like focus and get your work done, which I kind of need in the afternoon. I feel like in the morning I like that sort of chattiness of Camille Myrick's, and then in the afternoon it's nice to just like get laser focused in there with Oshi Reads. But overall today was super successful. I wrote 2,200 words in total. This was a really fun experience. This is my very first Camp NaNoWriMo. I didn't join on the website, but I think next time it rolls around I will, because I am very much a goal-driven person and I like having clear, concrete, specific goals. It just helps keep me accountable, and I'm also very competitive, like the Leo that I am. So it's really fun. I like seeing where I'm going. Last week I started at about 4,000 words on this manuscript. This week I am at 11,000 words. So that's like 1,000 words a day basically, which is pretty good, I think. You know, I have nothing to compare it to because this is really my first full-length novel that I'm writing, but it's been pretty cool. If you did watch all the way to the end, could you please put the like heart sparkly emoji? I love that emoji. That's like my new favorite one right now. All right, guys, that is it from me this week. You can find me posting videos every Wednesday and Sunday, sometimes Friday. I also have a chapbook of poetry down in the links if you're interested in purchasing that. You can find me on a day-to-day basis at Instagram, Tumblr, Goodreads, and Twitter at Shelly Flowers for all of those. Ciao, y'all.